Oh my God, I'm heading into my third trimester with baby number 2, and it feels like my due date of March 28th is just rushing at me. There's still so much to do to feel like I've properly feathered my nest for the latest addition to our little flock here. And yeah, in case you didn't know, my husband and I both have parrots, so we use a lot of bird metaphors. In fact, the reason I initially reached out to Paul on Match.com was because I saw he had a parrot. And my bird, Joey, is an African gray and could live to be 80 or 90 years old. So I knew that whoever I married would have to be okay with having a bird. The theme of our wedding was love birds. Here's the little logo I had made on Fiverr. And where most people have a song or poetry reading or something as part of their wedding ceremony, Paul and I had a bird show. It was awesome. Anyway, when I was getting ready to have my first baby, I did some research to figure out how much do babies cost? How much do children cost? And I found it surprisingly tricky to get clear answers. I mean, people say having kids is expensive, right? But expensive is a relative term. It means different things to different people. And I've met plenty of people who seem to have no money, but that doesn't stop them from having kids. So how does that work, right? Then I'd see stats like the USDA saying that the average cost of raising a kid from birth to age 17 in the Western United States is like $245,000, not including college tuition. Then if you want to send your kid to 4 years of college, that's another $80,000 on average for public school or $180,000 for private school. But it was hard for me to really get how that would break down and apply to me in terms of how it would impact our finances month to month. Well, I learned a lot about how much it costs to have a baby when we had Gabriel, and you'll want to stick with me to the end of this video because the true cost of having a baby really surprised me, especially the last of the 3 big categories that I'm going to talk about. So in this video, I'll share what I wish I'd known when budgeting for our first child, the biggest costs to consider when having a child, and how we're budgeting differently for baby number 2. All I ask in return is that you tap the like button for the YouTube algorithm so more soon-to-be parents can learn how to save money when having a baby. And please consider sharing this video with the people you know in your world who are having kids because it'll save them a ton of money. So let's dive in. One of the biggest costs to consider when having a child is healthcare and medical expenses. Over 65% of bankruptcies in the United States are because of medical issues. When we were getting ready for our first kid, I didn't consider this very seriously, but I ended up having a miscarriage in my second trimester that landed me in the ER. And then with Gabriel, I ended up having an emergency C-section. Fortunately, we had good health insurance through Paul's job and a cash cushion in case of emergencies. So this time I'm paying more attention to the potential medical costs and doing some research to find out what our maximum out-of-pocket would be with our current health insurance. Obviously, there's a lot that's outside of our control here, but what we can do is make sure we have the best health insurance we can, take the time to understand how our deductibles and copays work, and do our best to maintain a healthy reserve fund or cash cushion just in case. And depending on what I find out with our current health insurance, I may even look into getting a health savings account or HSA, which could potentially cover 100% of the bills after we hit our out-of-pocket maximum. The second area in terms of how we're budgeting differently for baby number 2 is that we now know that we can spend way less money on stuff. A lot of first-time parents, myself included, worry about what are all the baby essentials you need. I remember putting together a wish list for our baby shower that included a lot of stuff that would help me be prepared for things that never happened, like nursing pads and supplements to support a healthy milk supply, right? And we also asked for a lot of stuff that we did end up needing and using, but we could have gotten for way cheaper, and in some cases, for free. Like my uncle generously gave us a new $150 Rockaroo, which Gabriel really enjoyed, but quickly grew out of. This time, I was able to score a practically new one for free from my local Buy Nothing group. Babies outgrow a lot of their clothes and toys and supplies surprisingly quickly, so you can get a lot of this stuff in great condition from friends, local mommy groups, and local buy nothing groups, just to name a few of my favorite sources. And if you're not already connected with a local buy nothing group, you might want to check out buynothingproject.org for more information. If you can't get what you need for free, you might still want to buy used, like Craigslist and Amazon Marketplace can be really great. And what Paul and I were amazed to discover were the magic of pop-up consignment sales for kids stuff. In our area, there's one called Lollipop Market that usually happens twice a year, and another huge one at the fairgrounds called Outrageous Outgrowns. We discovered that we could get great clothes, usually for around like $2 to $3 an item, as well as just about any other baby and kid stuff we'd ever need, even high chairs, car seats, toys, books. I mean, it's really amazing. So for baby number 2, we'll take an inventory of what we need, considering that we still have some stuff from when Gabriel was a baby. And over the next few months, I'll see what's available for free through our Buy Nothing groups, through our local moms groups, knowing that we can regift stuff back to the community once we're done with it. Anything we can't get that way, we'll look into buying used, and we'll save our baby shower wish list for things we really love and need that we won't be able to get through these other channels, like diapers and a particular baby's first year calendar and photo frame that I really want to have to match the ones that we have for Gabriel. We're also going to set up a registry with a site called Plum Fund, which is really cool. It allows you to ask for pretty much any gift, including stuff that you might not be able to register for at a particular store, like a prenatal massage, a photo session, or contributions to baby's college fund, or even season passes to an amusement park. Like, we love taking Gabriel to Children's Fairyland in Oakland, as well as Great America and Six Flags. We could add that to our Plum Fund. And now that I think about it, we might want to ask for diapers on our Plum Fund registry too, since we won't know for sure what size and brand is going to fit our baby best until he or she gets here. Then someone like my mom can go to our Plum Fund link, select the gift she wants to give, and pay online with her credit or debit card. Plum Fund basically pools the money together and lets you know which gifts the money was intended for. They charge a small fee for their service, and then you can use that money to buy those gifts when you're ready. Okay, now let's talk about the single biggest expense we had with Gabriel and how we're budgeting differently for baby number 2. Our single biggest expense was childcare. And when you hear that, you might think I'm talking about the cost of hiring a nanny or having him in daycare. But actually, our biggest expense was this girl not working. That's not the case for everyone, but I'm fortunate enough to make good money. As my pregnancy with Gabriel moved forward, I felt strongly that I needed to wind down my business and complete my existing programs because I really didn't know what it was going to be like having a child and where I would want to go with my business next. I didn't shut down my business completely. Like, I kept sending out my biweekly email newsletter, but I wasn't enrolling any new clients or selling any programs, and I finished up with delivering my existing programs. So in the last part of my pregnancy, while I was ramping things down, I wasn't generating any income. During maternity leave, I wasn't generating any income. And I ended up taking a longer maternity leave than I originally imagined because taking care of a newborn while recovering from major abdominal surgery was freaking hard. I naively thought that maternity leave was going to be like a peaceful vacation. I know, but that's what I thought. I'd be snuggling with my new baby, which would sleep a lot, so I'd have time to watch movies and catch up on scrapbooking, and it would be super fun. I thought I had plenty of support lined up. We hired a doula that would come and visit me and help me out after the birth. My amazing mom came and stayed with me for a month to help me out. And we set up a meal train where friends and family kindly brought us some meals. I had no idea what I was in for. Between the pain, the hormones, and the sleep deprivation, maternity leave was not a vacation. It felt like torture. My mom kept reassuring me that it would get a lot easier in like 3 to 6 months, and I would break down in tears because I didn't know how I was going to make it through the next 10 to 20 minutes. Then, when I was finally ready to start working again, I wasn't generating income while I ramped my business back up and launched my new offerings and programs. So all in all, I'd estimate that my not working cost us over $100,000 with Gabriel. So a big difference in how we're budgeting differently for baby number 2 is we're actually planning to spend more money on childcare so we don't lose my income. With Gabriel, I discovered that I needed a lot more support than I thought. I really need 2 people in the mix most of the time to alternate between taking care of the baby and taking care of themselves so that both people are able to take turns doing things that I used to take for granted, like eating, sleeping, or taking a shower. And then if anything needs to get done, like cleaning, meal prep, or errands, we need a 3rd person in the mix. And in order for someone to go to work, that might take a 4th person. Now, since we also have Gabriel to consider this time, we also need a 5th person to be bottom line for him. That seems like an embarrassing amount of support when I say it out loud, but when I really think about it, in order for everyone to have their needs met and feel good, that's really what it would take. So I'm making a calendar of which of those 5 roles are needed when and who is in that role at that time. In addition to paying for preschool for Gabriel and a personal assistant to run errands and do food prep, I'm looking into bringing in a live-in nanny and possibly even a mommy's helper in the morning and afternoons to shuttle Gabriel to and from school. Even though that's going to increase our monthly expenses, it'll ultimately cost us a lot less because me continuing to work should bring in way more money than what we're paying. Plus, we're providing jobs, which feels good. And just to be clear, I'm still planning on having some maternity leave, but I envision it looking a lot different than my first one. I'm taking a break from hosting live events, but since my programs are all online, I think I'll be able to show up and lead a class or a group coaching call or a client session for an hour or 2 here and there. Depending on when I go into labor, I might need to reschedule a call or have one of my team members lead a class for me, but I won't need to wind down my business like I did before. This YouTube channel takes a lot of my time and energy right now, so I might not be able to keep posting a new video every single week. I'm doing my best to get ahead of our posting schedule and build up kind of like a bank account of videos before baby number 2 gets here, but I may need to switch to posting every other week or take a break from posting for a few months. One thing we didn't talk about is saving for college. For Gabriel, we set up a 529 plan, which will allow us to invest with tax-free growth for his future education. We have a certain amount getting auto-transferred every month into that account, and then that money gets auto-invested according to the investment strategy that I'm following for him. We'll do the same thing for baby number 2, but the only difference is that it took us a while to get going with that for Gabriel, and I want to get it going immediately for baby number 2. Because the earlier you can start investing, the more you can get compound interest on your side and get your money working for you and growing for you. In my Financial Freedom Accelerator program, I have a whole training on how to send kids to college debt-free, but I can give you a few quick tips right here. Between saving and investing early in something like a 529 plan, school choice, and scholarships, you don't need to pay or borrow massive amounts of money for your kids' education. I also work with my financial coaching clients on tax reduction strategies, and I'm taking my own advice and hiring my kids at reasonable rates for legitimate business expenses. That allows me to pay tax on their income at their lower tax brackets, and they can then use that money to fund their 529 plans and even Roth IRAs, because why not? I mean, can you imagine what your life would be like today if you'd started putting $500 a month into a Roth IRA from the time you were born? What? That money would grow tax-free and you could start taking it out tax-free after 59 and a half. You could take some out before that, but you might have to pay penalties. Just so you know, if you invest $500 a month from age 0 to age 59 and a half, and your money grows at an average of 8% over time, you'd end up with over $8.6 million. So there you have it. How we're budgeting differently for baby number 2 is paying more attention to potential medical expenses, spending a lot less on stuff, a lot more on support, and getting started with saving and investing a little earlier. If you found this video helpful and interesting, please make sure to tap the like button because that helps get this content out to more people. Thanks for doing that. I really, really do appreciate it. And for more money saving tips in general, check out the Money Saving Tips playlist on my channel. Let me know in the comments how this landed for you. And thank you for watching.